You're in your car driving back home when you see some dogs up for adoption. You figure, why not rescue a cute pooch and give it a warm home? You pull over and see a massive Goliath of a dog. It's got pointy ears and huge paws. Its eyes are deep and sharp. You're staring at a wolf-dog hybrid. This can happen in the wild, and it's pretty common to see in many households. It's actually the most common wild and domesticated animal cross out there, with an estimated 400,000 of these as pets in the United States alone. There are many combinations of these animals, but the most common are gray wolves mixed with German shepherds or Siberian huskies. These crosses may seem majestic, but they're really dangerous to have around the house. Many cases were reported of wolf dogs attacking their owners for random and unpredictable reasons. It's best to leave these doggos alone. And speaking of wild doggos, some of the most dangerous ones out there also look quite adorable. You better keep some distance if you ever come across one of these, because they will chase after you. They're even called the kings of Australia, the one and only dingo. These animals have been around for hundreds of years across Southeast Asia to Australia. Their golden brown color blends with their surroundings, making them even more dangerous when lurking around for prey. And just like a wolf-dog hybrid, many dingoes are also bred with domesticated dogs to create a dingo-doggo combo. Yeah, I said that. Now, that may sound cute, but they're anything but. They're still wild animals that hunt in packs and are ruthless even to humans. Now, this one may seem like a no-brainer, but there are enthusiasts out there who keep venomous snakes in their houses. Not everyone can handle those serpents since they need proper care and attention. Some states even banned owning them. Sure, it may be pretty cool to show off one of these to a group of friends at a party, but stats show that there are at least 10,000 snake bites a year in the United States. Some of these are pets. Snake handling professionals equip themselves with proper gear and tools when extracting them from unwanted areas. So having one in the house on purpose is risky enough. And there are many venomous snakes in the wild that are actually in danger and shouldn't be kept at home unless for nurturing. When first introducing this animal, explorers described it as a mix of a duck, a beaver, and an otter the size of a house cat that laid eggs. Come again? Scientists brushed the platypus off as fiction until they saw it with their own eyes. Cute as it may be, this weird mammal is actually venomous. On its webbed back feet, its heels hold spurs for self-defense and to escape and wiggle their way out of danger. As you can imagine, keeping a venomous duck-billed beaver isn't something you should do, even though they look so adorable as babies. Platypuses are extremely hard to take care of and need massive amounts of real estate to swim and roam around. They're really picky with their diet and can be quite aggressive when handling them, but they might make a good secret agent. Owning a cat isn't usually a big deal, unless you're dealing with a serval. These wild cats are bigger than the typical house cat and look like little leopards. Yeah, they look majestic and like to jump from place to place, but they're still not highly recommended to keep at home. They've been known to cause a ruckus in the house and rip up curtains and couches with their claws. They rarely listen to humans and are aggressive when played with. They're very clever and need loads of places to climb and explore, and do all kinds of serval things. A slow loris is just an animal you want to hug all day. Its large, bulging eyes make you want to cry for joy. The way it grabs onto branches with its tiny hands brings smiles to everyone. And it does it all so slowly. But there's a dark secret to handling these primates. They're endangered and illegal. And even though they look oh so cute to handle, they're actually in extreme distress. They're night animals and can't handle too much interaction. And it's enough knowing they're actually venomous. They're the only primates in the world to have a toxic bite that can pack a hurtful punch. At least it won't be hard outrunning these creatures. Koalas are also animals that enjoy climbing tree branches and eating. But having one of these at home is totally unadvisable. These animals are very protective of their young and aggressive if they feel threatened. And despite being called koala bears, they're not related to bears at all. They're marsupials, or in English, related to kangaroos and wombats. And like kangaroos, they have pouches for the babies to grow up in. They have opposable thumbs like primates and humans to grab onto branches and climb. Trying to domesticate these animals won't work, and feeding them is the main reason they can't live with humans. They need special eucalyptus leaves that grow in forests in order to survive, which means they need large forest ranges to thrive. What do you get when you have a possum-looking animal the size of your palm with wings? Nope, not a bat, but a sugar glider. And they don't actually have wings, so they don't technically fly. Bats still hold the record for the only winged mammal out there. Rather, these marsupials have a thick layer of skin that stretches from their hands to their back ankles that acts like a glider. Their thick furry tails are used to steer themselves while gliding down. And while they might seem cute and superhero-like, they don't belong indoors with people. They're animals that are naturally born to live in big families with their own kind. When people get these animals as pets, they usually have one or two at home, and they need trees to scale up and glide down. Not to mention sugar gliders are nocturnal and sleep all day to be active at night, which goes against humans, unless you're a night owl. And speaking of owls and other nocturnal creatures, owls are animals that shouldn't be kept in cages or in barns. We've all fantasized about an owl carrying a letter to our windows when we were younger. But that doesn't mean owls are these magical creatures that can be kept as pets. For starters, owls are solitary creatures and don't understand a flock mentality like many other birds, which is why they're not accustomed to having company and being cuddled with daily. And if you decided to keep an owl indoors, then consider your furniture gone. Owls need space to fly around and do owlish things. So your curtains, pillows, and bookshelves won't be spared. And being nocturnal animals, owls tend to throw the biggest parties at night when everyone's sleeping. Now, hedgehogs may seem like the perfect pet to have around the house, but they come with some restraints. Although adorable little animals, the prickly spikes on their backs may not be for the faint-hearted. Many injuries can be a result of mishandling and the fact that they roll up into a cute ball for self-defense. They're solitary creatures as well, and can't be around other hedgehogs or anything they might find threatening. And, like most solitude lovers, hedgehogs are nocturnal and like to go for late-night cruises alone. So, if you do happen to get one of these spike balls, make sure to have a lot of room for it to explore daily. With a ringed tail, reddish-brown color, these fluff balls make the best cuddle companions out there. I mean, who can resist the cuteness of the red panda? And no, it's not related to the giant panda, but it's still as cute. And I don't mean to burst your bubble, but it's best to leave these creatures alone. They're found in Southeast Asia in dense rainforests and can't be in captivity. And just like cats, they have sharp claws that'll redecorate your home interior, and not in a good way. When threatened, they release a foul odor to escape from danger. Hey, I can relate. Although its big fluffy ears make it even more irresistible, it's best to let these guys do their own thing. Now, if for some reason you ever, decide to wake up a sleeping giant panda or cuddle it, just remember that's a bad idea. Even fearless big cats like snow leopards are wary of bothering pandas in the wild. The ones you see in the zoo might not be that active, but they still have a massive jaw that can deliver a powerful bite. Their huge false thumb lets them get a good grip on their enemies. The most misleading thing about the leopard seal is its mouth, which always appears to be smiling. but they're actually rather aggressive animals and effective lone hunters. They like to play cat and mouse with their food, which includes penguins, fish, squid, and even smaller seals. Not so long ago, a leopard seal even dragged a marine biologist deep underwater. Hey, stop playing with your food! Anteaters feed on insects, citrus fruit, and avocados. Watch out! They have no teeth, poor vision, and bad hearing. Sounds kinda like my Uncle Rudy. They aren't aggressive and stay away from people. But if humans walk on their trails, anteaters can turn fierce and may fight. They get on their hind legs, use their tails for balance, and attack with their claws that are strong enough to hurt a jaguar or a Land Rover. Fluffy alpacas may seem warm-hearted, but they still have ways of defending themselves. They can spit up to 10 feet, and you don't want that stuff getting in your eyes because it contains stomach acid, along with chewed-up grass. They can bite with their sharp fighting teeth that are at the back of their mouths, and they have soft toes to give enemies a good kick. They can't really do more damage than you might get in a fight with a child, but it's best not to upset them. There are 3 things that brings out the nasty side of a Tasmanian devil: when there's a predator nearby, when they're competing for a mate, and when they're protecting their meal. Also Bugs Bunny, but that's a cartoon. These guys normally feed on insects, birds, frogs, and fish, and they like scavenging more than hunting. But if you intrude upon their home for any reason, be prepared for a painful bite. Their teeth are strong enough to eat through bones. Elephants are so clever that they understand the feelings of other elephants, and they even try to help each other. They can also take revenge on people who upset them. Elephants sometimes block roads and show up in the villages of people who have been mean to them. Male elephants get especially aggressive when fighting over females. Watch out for those huge feet, they can really do some damage. Better pack your trunk. Pufferfish can inflate to several times their normal size to protect themselves against predators. Hey, my brother-in-law can do that too. Just kidding. Most animals shouldn't try eating them anyways. There's enough poison inside them to finish off 30 people, and there's no antidote. So, if it's just you, you'll need to invite some friends along to spread out the poison. Nah, I just made that up. Swans tend to see humans as the biggest danger to their homes and families. Male swans get especially aggressive during the spring nesting season from April to June. When kayakers, rowers, or anglers get too close to their nests, swans start hissing and flapping their wings. If you don't pay attention to these warning signs, the swan might even try to flip your boat over. Dolphins are the only species on the planet, apart from humans, that can take another creature's life for no logical reason. Males sometimes attack female dolphins or even baby ones, and they don't do it for food. If an angry dolphin chases you, you have no chance of outswimming it. They can move at 22 miles per hour. The top speed of Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is only 6 miles per hour, so he can't help you. Slow lorises are the only venomous primates in the world. They carry poison in their elbows. It's transferred to their mouths during grooming to protect their babies. Plus, they scare off predators like pythons and eaglehawks using special markings that show how fearsome they are. If a slow loris bites a person who ends up on its territory or annoys it, the result can be rashes, anaphylactic shock, or, even worse. Despite their massive weight and clumsy bodies, hippos can run much faster than people, and they have much sharper teeth. If you get in their way on their trip to the watering hole, their aggression kicks in. Before they attack you, though, they'll give you some warning signs. If you see a hippo yawn or make a sound like a laugh, it means it's about to get mad. Well, that's rather confusing, isn't it? Blue-ringed octopuses are really tiny, but their venom is 1,000 times stronger than cyanide. They normally use it to hunt shrimp, crabs, and small fish. If this creature feels threatened, it'll flash its blue rings as a warning. If you don't pay attention, it may bite you. You might not notice the bite itself, but minutes later, you'll definitely notice the symptoms: nausea, numbness, and even the loss of your senses and motor skills. So pay attention down there. Geographic cone snails are a seriously dangerous critter. They puncture their victims with a tooth that's like a harpoon, and then inject their venom. If a small cone attacks you, it'll just feel like a bee sting. If you're unlucky enough to meet a larger one though, it could cause numbing, swelling, muscle paralysis, changes to your vision, and even breathing difficulties. Canada geese have been living close to humans for years, but they're still wary of us getting near their homes, especially during the spring mating season. At this time, the male geese can chase and bite people that seem like a threat to their mates, eggs, or babies. If you want to avoid being attacked by this seriously angry bird, the best thing you can do is just slowly back away. Squirrels have a lot of enemies, both in the wild and in cities. Their superpower against all of them is their speed and agility. Most of the time it's completely safe to go near them, but they can still be unpredictable like any wild animal. They go on biting sprees occasionally, and watch out, they carry infections like rabies. They're more likely to go after your pets or kids, but they can also bite adults. So, to play it safe, always walk behind your pets or kids to use them as decoys. Of course I'm kidding. If you ever see a kangaroo get up on its hind legs, back off. This is their way of warning you that they think you're a threat to their females or their food. They are real pros at boxing with each other, and they have really long legs and sharp claws. Kangaroos jump into the air to give extra force to their kicks, which are powerful enough to break bones. A platypus doesn't have teeth, and it mainly eats insects and shellfish. It's one of only 2 mammals that lay eggs, but these strange things can still do you harm. Male platypuses have sharp spurs hidden on the heels of their hind feet. There's venom in these spurs that's strong enough to take down a dog. Koalas get most of their hydration from eating eucalyptus leaves, and they get all the protection they need from their sharp teeth and claws. When a koala scratches someone that wants to cuddle them a little too hard, they can pass on some unpleasant infections. Raccoons can easily adapt to any environment, including your backyard. They rarely attack humans directly, but can damage your property and make you sick. They'll go anywhere to get some food, from trash cans to bird nests, and this is where they can catch a lot of different infections. Apart from disease, raccoons can give humans nasty wounds that take a long time to heal. When it thinks you're threatening its dam, a beaver will start slapping the water with its tail as a warning sign. If you ignore it, it'll try to use its sharp teeth against you to protect its family. So, it's better to just leave it to beaver. Hey, there's a special knife you can use to protect yourself against attack called a beaver cleaver. No wait, that's an old TV show. Otters spend a lot of their time swimming on their backs, and they don't care about cleaning up after themselves. That's why they leave behind bits of fish that attract insects carrying diseases. Apart from being so messy, they also have powerful teeth that can be used against any unwanted visitor. Cassowaries are the most dangerous birds on the planet. One of these can weigh as much as an adult person, and it has long, powerful legs and sharp claws. They can chase after you at 30 miles per hour. Luckily enough, they try to avoid fights. But if you don't want to be the target of their karate moves, keep a safe distance and don't provoke them. Got that? Good. Around 65 million years ago, the Earth turned faster, days were a half hour shorter, and the continents we know today were beginning to take shape. The dinosaurs had been almost wiped out, the age of mammals was dawning, and frogs the size of cats totally normal. They weren't the first frogs or anything. Frogs had been around for 180 million years. Over time, not much about their body changed, except their size. Enter Beelzebufo, the baddest, meanest, and biggest frog that ever existed. Scientists found their first bone sample in Madagascar. It took them 15 years to piece together the whole skeleton. Step by step, they put the frog skeleton together, just like an ancient jigsaw puzzle. When they saw what they had found, a huge creature with a weird shield, they gave it its epic name. It's a mix of Greek and Latin, and it means armored frog from the abyss. Ooh! This guy didn't hop from one lily pad to another catching insects. Nah, that would be too tame. It liked to live in dry places and used a sit-and-wait hunting style. It blended in with its surroundings, waiting. Then, bam! It jumped out to grab its lunch. It had a huge head, an extremely wide mouth, I know what that's like, and powerful jaws with huge teeth. It spent its days snacking on lizards, mammals, smaller frogs, and maybe even baby dinosaurs. Even though it was the size of a beach ball, it still caught a lucky break. It lived in Madagascar, safe from the large and dangerous dinosaurs that ruled over other parts of the world. The armor on its back was almost like a turtle shell. It was scary and strong enough to protect itself from smaller dinosaurs and crocodiles. Another reason for that armor was that it helped the frog survive in the dry heat. It was able to dig down and hide underground, away from the burning hot sun. The biggest frogs in Madagascar these days are just regular-sized frogs, a perfect mid-morning snack for Beelzebufo. The largest frog on Earth these days is the Goliath frog from West Africa. It also grows to the size of a small cat, but it isn't related to this awesome prehistoric beast. Now, the most famous frog on the planet these days is none other than Kermit, but he's not very big and doesn't eat other frogs, so we'll move on. Scientists discovered that Beelzebufo actually does have some living relatives, just not in Africa. Its big mouth gave it its name. It's the Pac-Man frog from South America. Even the biggest Pac-Man frogs are still 2 to 3 times smaller than their famous ancestors. They have little horns on their heads, and they use the same sit-and-wait hunting tactics. Researchers use these frogs to figure out the bite force of their prehistoric relatives. They use 2 plates covered with leather. The frog bites down on the plates, which tells the researchers how strong their bite is. Long story short, Beelzebufo had a bite force of around 500 pounds. Not bad, but a Nile crocodile's bite is 10 times stronger. Probably safer to avoid either of those guys. So how did these Pac-Man frogs reach South America? Well, millions of years ago, South America, Antarctica, and Africa were actually all smushed together in kind of a continental pie called Pangaea. Frogs could have hopped over via Antarctica, looking for food or a cozy place to live, and it used to be a much warmer place back then. This giant Madagascar frog was unique for sure, but it wasn't the only giant on Earth. If it had been alive earlier, it would have probably made friends with Megan Europsis, not to be confused with Megan of Sussex. It's the largest known insect to have ever existed. It looked something like a dragonfly, a big one. Its wings stretched about the length from your shoulder to your fingertips. It was flying around way before flying dinosaurs had come along. Back then, there was way more oxygen around. That's why this dragonfly was able to grow so big. Another reason for its size? There was no one else flying around looking for a tasty dragonfly snack. It had time to develop dangerous teeth and figure out how to fly around like a pro. Megatherium americanum, the great beast from America, was the ancestor of today's sloths. These days, sloths get a bad rap for being super slow and kind of boring. But the sloths of the past walked on 2 legs and lived on the ground. This giant sloth was as tall as a giraffe when standing on its back legs, as heavy as a hippo, and looked kind of like a bear. It had huge claws, but was most likely a vegetarian. Early humans probably saw it roaming around. It only went extinct about 10,000 years ago. Giant armadillos were cruising around back then too. They used to be the size of a beetle, a Volkswagen beetle. Just like today's armadillos, they had a huge tough shell made of bone and was super heavy. They looked pretty scary, but they were just harmless vegetarians. Regular prehistoric kangaroos had flat faces and forward-pointing eyes. They didn't hop around at all. They weighed as much as a horse and were so bulky they could only walk around on 2 legs. They used their one large toe to move quickly through woods and plains, looking for delicious leaves and shrubs. They might have even used their tail as a 5th limb. Other than that, they have a lot in common with modern kangaroos. But Diprotodon, the largest kangaroo-type thing ever discovered, was about the size of a rhino. It had strong, furry legs, just like a kangaroo. But this guy wasn't into jumping around all over the place. It spent most of the time munching on bushes and lounging by a lake or river. Sounds good to me. The biggest shark that ever existed was, Megalodon. Imagine a great white shark. Now shorten the nose, flatten the jaw, and stretch out those pointy teeth. This thing was enormous, as long as a bowling lane and as heavy as a blue whale. Female megalodons were most likely twice as large as male ones. Even though it's long gone, its food is still around. Giant sea turtles, seals, porpoises, smaller whales. Delicious. The megalodon probably had the most powerful bite of all time, and it was so big it needed plenty of food every day. Scientists have found megalodon fossils off the coast of every continent except Antarctica. Sharks don't have regular bones except for their sharp teeth. It's one of the reasons why they're so fast and skillful in the water. Giant scorpions used to rule over lakes and rivers, and even swam in the ocean about 400 million years ago. They had claws the size of bowling pins. By comparing them to other scorpions, they calculated that this giant sea scorpion used to be about twice as big as a fridge, if you include its claws. It most likely grew so big for the same reason as these monster dragonflies. They were much higher levels of oxygen in the air back then. Ancient saltwater crocodiles were almost the size of a bus and as heavy as an elephant. They lived about 130 million years ago and were at the top of the food chain. So, what did they eat? Pretty much anything that got a little too close. A few million years after the fall of the dinosaurs, a new gigantic beast took over. It was the Titanoboa, the largest snake the world had ever seen. It was as long as a telephone pole and as heavy as a giraffe. It behaved like a present-day anaconda, spending most of its time in the water, munching on anything it could find. The largest lizard ever, the great-grandpa of the famous Komodo dragon, was called Megalania. It had super dangerous teeth equipped with some nasty venom. That makes it the largest venomous animal ever. Some of the largest birds of all time lived around 50 million years ago. Think of an albatross with a seriously dangerous mouth. Their wingspan was around the size of 3 NBA players. Now, it wasn't easy finding out about these huge birds and their lifestyles. Researchers took fossils all the way from Antarctica to California to compare them to bones of related species. Back then, Antarctica was much warmer than today. It was covered with ferns and was home to a bunch of animals: marsupials, frogs, ancient penguins, albatrosses, and even falcons. You lie on the beach and decide to swim before going to bed. You go into the water up to your knees and notice a bluish-green glow in the distance. It seems to you that a gem reflects the moonlight, so you go ahead. Stop and get out of there! The glow floats in your direction, and you see a small fish through the water the size of a cat. Its skin glows. It doesn't look unsafe, but in fact, it's one of the most dangerous fish on the planet. You won't confuse the cookie-cutter shark with other marine predators. It has a round mouth armed with small, sharp teeth, which can leave a mark on a wooden boat the shape of cookies. Despite its size, this fish scares great white sharks, whales, hammerhead sharks, you name it. Once it even managed to damage the submarine with its bites. Usually this predator lives deep in the ocean, but there are cases when it attacks people. You're diving, looking at the seafloor, and suddenly notice that it begins to move. There are several types of fish that can merge with the sea landscape, and one of them is the angel shark. It looks like a stingray and seems quite friendly. Don't swim close to it. This predator is fast and has a strong jaw filled with sharp teeth. It's aggressive and can attack. You're swimming in the water with a mask and see a shoal of small fish in the distance. Something long flies into the shoal and begins to churn the water. Fish swim away in different directions. That must be the thresher shark catching prey. This shark has a long tail, similar to a whip, and it uses it to stun little fish. Of course, if the shark sees danger, it will wave its tail for defense, and you don't want to get under this strong strike. If you see a fish with small ridges over its eyes looking like horns, then know that it's most likely the horn shark. This predator is not aggressive. It calmly swims in seas and oceans and searches for its favorite foods – crabs, crayfish, prawns, and sea urchins. But it's still better not to approach it, as the shark has one of the strongest bites among all species, and its back and fins are covered with sharp spikes. And if you see one off the Normandy coast of France, it must be the French horn shark. Nah, I just made that up. One of the scariest sharks you can meet is the goblin shark. You can recognize it by long tail and pinkish skin tone. It lives off the Japanese coast and got its name from its unusual appearance. Imagine that you're on a boat and see this shark swimming by. You take a stake out of the container and raise it over the ocean. The shark comes out of the water and reaches for food. At this point, it opens its mouth, and a jaw with sharp teeth moving out of it grabs the meat from your hand. The shark slides the jaw back and swims away. Gee! To meet this shark, you need to go down to the bottom of the ocean. There's almost no light there, but you'll see it from afar. A glowing blue head. The shark's body is black and can't be seen, so it looks like the head is swimming by itself. This small predator can fit in an adult's palm, but it's better not to try to hold it if you don't want to meet with little sharp teeth. It's called ninja lantern shark. Nobody knows exactly why its head is glowing. It may be a way to lure prey, but there's also a theory that sharks communicate with each other using light. In the deep ocean waters, you can see a large snake. It seems like it's crawling on the seafloor. Its movements are fast and agile. This marine predator is also a shark. The frilled shark is similar to a snake, not only in appearance. It can also swallow prey larger than half of its 7-foot body. It has about 200 sharp teeth. You won't confuse it with a sea eel and other snake-like sea creatures. In the cold waters, where most sharks don't swim, you can meet this incredible creature. Most likely, you won't see it, because the short-fin mako shark swims too fast. It's about 35 miles per hour, which is faster than a leopard. Its prey has no chance of escape, and its enemies will never catch up with it. If you see a small glowing cave with unusual teeth looking like plates moving toward you from the depths, then you should immediately get out of the water. Although it's unlikely you can see this creature in person. The megamouth shark is one of the rarest sharks in the world. Scientists have not yet fully studied it. This fish, the size of a car, rarely closes its large mouth, which can easily fit an adult human. Fortunately, it eats plankton and won't do you harm. Yeah. You won't confuse this shark with anything else. The saw shark is a fish with a long nose similar to a saw. Those little cogs on the shark's nose are teeth that grow outwards. Each tooth is equipped with an electroreceptor that can sense the electric fields coming from other fish. In conditions of poor visibility, this shark can detect prey using its nose as a radar. The shark saw masters the saw as a professional swordsman and can hit strongly and accurately. A shark that will notice you much earlier than you do it is the hammerhead shark. Its eyes, placed on the size of the hammer, look in almost all directions at once. No fish can swim past this shark unnoticed. It uses its head not only for panoramic observation, but also for hunting. Hammerhead shark's favorite food is stingrays. They're like blankets, invisibly floating on the seafloor. But they can't hide from the sharp eyes of this shark. It uses the hammer to pin the stingrays to the ground. Hey, how about we get the saw shark and hammerhead shark together and do a little carpentry? I could use a chair. In the waters of the Arctic, if you are lucky enough, you can meet the Greenland shark. You can rarely find this large, slow, but majestic creature on the surface, since it dwells in the ocean depths. It can live for an impressive 300 years and longer, so some of them probably witnessed the times when all ships were made of wood. White and tiger sharks are some of the main species that pose a danger to people. You can identify them by the triangular fins sticking out of the water, but it's much easier to predict their appearance if you pay attention to the external environment. You're much more likely to meet sharks early in the morning or late in the evening. At this time, it's better to relax on the beach and not get into the water. Also, you should avoid river mouths with silt and muddy water. This is where tiger sharks, some of the most bad-tempered sharks in the world, most often live. But the main sign that sharks are somewhere around is fishing boats. If you see them on the horizon, don't go into the water. People use nets to catch large numbers of fish, and where there are a lot of fish, there's a shark swimming around and trying to get food. If you're in the water and already see a shark swimming towards you, then you still have a chance to survive. The main thing is not to panic, it says here. Don't splash and don't make sudden movements not to excite the shark. Don't swim away from it because it can think you are prey. The shark will circle around you, so don't lose sight of it. You can slowly swim to the shore until you reach shallow water, then quickly escape. But be careful, the shark can even get you out of there. If the shark still attacks you, then you'll have to fight for your life. Weak points of the shark are eyes and gills. And hey, let me know how it goes.